say the name of the school, sometimes people say things like, ooh, I'm sorry about that. Okay, that's the school I graduated from. Okay, and so being a product of that school, okay, and then ultimately teaching in that school. Uh, as we put in the title, we have no more excuses, because if the school where they say the name of the school and people say things, oh, I'm sorry, can produce me, you don't know who you have in your classroom. So what I want us to understand for today is to really take a few important things that I want us to consider, and then think about how can we bring that into that particular classroom where they can produce students that become world changers. And that's what we have to think about, but it's going to start with you, okay? And that's what we have to understand. So as we look at this, I'm going to go through this real briefly. This is a little bit about me. I don't talk much about me. Only thing that I want you to know is two things. I'm a product of that school that I just told you about, and I taught in that school that I just told you about, okay? So the schools that I taught in, you know, people call them urban. I don't know how they got two urbans versus the one urban, but, you know, I can make my own guess, okay? But I was fortunate enough in my teaching experience to receive Teacher of the Year for the state of Louisiana, where I'm from. So what I want to just kind of share with you a few things that I've learned in that particular setting. So ground rules, I know we're in the room full of teachers. You know, teachers like rules. I don't have any. Okay, we can have fun, even though this is a serious topic. I want us to have fun, and you could challenge anything that I say, because I'm still going to be done at 9:15. Okay, so that's fine as well. Okay, so as we look at this, we're gonna go. All right, so I'm also a technology guy as well. So if any of you, you know, everybody has a smartphone, right, and you use Twitter. How many of you are familiar with Twitter? Raise your hand. Okay, here's my first point. How many of your students do you think are familiar with Twitter? A lot of them, right? So you might want to just be in the know so you can know what they're doing, okay? So I know you're just meeting me and I'm just meeting you. So I'm going to just throw out a couple of education abbreviations, right, to see if we're speaking the same language, okay? Let me start here. ADD. Anybody knows what that is? What is it? Okay. You have that at your school? Okay, among the students, faculty, and administration. Right. Okay, all right, okay. ADHD. You have that right? Students, faculty, and administrators. Okay, all right, I just want to be clear. LD, learning disabled, okay. Students, faculty, and administrators. Okay, and we don't want to leave anybody out, right? Okay, ED, what's that? Emotionally disturbed. Okay. Anybody heard of this one? EBD? Emotional behavior disturbed. Students, faculty, and administrators. Right? So what about this one? BAD. Right? Students, faculty, and administrators. Right? All right. So the reason why I raised these, one, to kind of break the ice a little bit, because sometimes the educators are so serious you can't have fun. But then two, to understand sometimes a kid may just be BAD, right? And we think they have one of those other Ds, okay? And I like to do this as we get going, you know, the education litmus test, because educators go through education amnesia sometimes, right? So how many of you were just superb students and people 100% of the time when you were in K through 12? Okay. Maybe the mic is not on. How many of you were really good 100% of the time? Okay. What about 90? Okay. Now, two people, maybe 90. Do you believe them? Okay, all right. 80, 70. Okay. Okay, where does that fall on your grading scale? 60, 50. So is it fair to say that all of us were not good 100% of the time? Okay. And since we're in a room full of teachers, is it safe to assume that all of us went to college at least 1 year? Is it safe to assume that? Remember all the things you did your freshman year? Oh, I was just thinking about Common Core standards. Right. But just think about this. After all of that, they still let you work with kids. So what an honor it is to be here today, right? So when we think about that, so as we look at this, let's go into this and break this down. So everything that you're going to see today, we'll put on the website. I give it to Dr. Glass so you could take it with you and do what you need to do with it. So we want you to have what you need. So what I decided to do today is to give you 10 steps that I think will be important for you to understand if you're going to really want to garner what's going to work in urban schools, okay? So as we look at this, I want us to take this and take whatever notes that you need to take, because as we start to look at this, I want to kind of tell you what's going to happen, how it's going to naturally flow, okay? So when we look at these best practices, I want to start at the top of this. I want to start with, before we get going, your mindset about urban schools and urban students, okay? So as we look at this, when we go into next school year, something is going to happen, right? And when the school year comes and you go back, they're going to give you a roster, right? A roster of students. Everybody remember that day when you get the roster? Okay, I want to talk about that day because that's going to be important if you're going to understand what works. So when you get that roster, well, however you get it, via email or in your mailbox, that is the first day where you set the tone before the kids even come. So when you look at that roster, right, and you look at it, and you scroll down the list, then somebody's going to walk up behind you and say, who do you have in your class? And then they're going to do something like this. Look at your list. You show them your list, and they're going to do something like this. I'm sorry. I taught him, I taught her, I taught their cousin, I taught their mother. They're all crazy. Right? Now you have a choice to make right there. Okay? You can either decide within your mindset to believe what this person has just implanted in you, or take these students that are coming into your classroom as something that you can mold and shape for the future. So when we're talking about your mindset, what we have to think about is a couple of key things, because you're going to have detractors all around you. Okay, but your goal and your mindset are centered around 3 questions that I want you to consider. Okay? 1, when we talk about your mindset, why did you even go into the field of education? Because you're going to have to think about this when they start talking about your students, because you're going to have to take ownership of them, because you're going to have to protect them, okay? Especially in urban schools, okay? So why did you even enter the field of education? Before they get to your room, based on what you hear, are you afraid of them before they even get there? I'll come back to that later, okay? And then, are you planting seeds of greatness in these students? Okay? So I want to give you a little term when we start thinking about best practices and understanding your mindset. Your students will become, and here's a math term, a derivative of you. Okay? Because they're going to spend a lot of time with you. Okay? So they're going to become part of you and take on your characteristics. So if you're excited about learning, what happens to them? They're excited. If you walk in the room and say, oh, I don't want to be here this year, I'm so tired, I can't believe all the bureaucracy that's going on in the school district, what do you think they're going to feel? I'm tired too. That's just how it flows, okay? So as we start to think about this, I want to give you this. This is your students talking to you before they get there. I don't become what I think I can. I don't become what you think I can. I become what I think you think I can. Your breakfast hasn't kicked in yet, so I'm going to repeat that. I don't become what I think I can. I don't become what you think I can. I become what I think you think I can. So the question is, within your mindset, what do you think about your students before they even get to your room? Because when they get to your room, whatever you think about them will manifest itself in how you play it out in the teaching. So before they come, we have to deal with the first step in understanding the best practices. We have to deal with us. And in dealing with us and understanding what we bring to the table, we have to set up situations where no matter what the odds are, no matter what we have or don't have, these students are going to become great because our mindset is set. So in my teaching, I taught computer labs, business courses, and, it would rain in the room and flood the computers. They wouldn't work. They had to cut them on one at a time, so on and so forth. There's no excuse for the standpoint of they still had to learn. I had to still produce greatness. So no matter what the odds are around you, we have to think about that, okay? Best practice number 2 I want us to consider for our thinking for today. I want us to think about learning and understand your students' community. Because when we look at this, before they get to your room, right? You have to know about them and not just stereotypical things that people will tell you. Because people will tell you anything. We understand that, right? Okay? And if the students are attending certain schools, you will also see that sometimes people inside of that school do not believe that they can achieve. Okay? So you got all of this going around, and it's you and your students. So in order for you to facilitate something, the best practice that you have to do is understand where they are coming from. Okay? So some of the students that you think are poor are not poor. Okay? So one of the things I want you to do that I do with many schools around the country is what I want you to do, instead of just getting off the interstate and taking a little road straight to your school, sometimes I just want you to ride the attendance zone, because you have to have a background. But I'm going to give you an assignment as a best practice to think about when you're riding around, okay? When you are riding around, understanding where they come from, I also want you to look while you're riding to see things that you can use as what I call teachable moments inside of the classroom. Because a point that I'm coming to in a little bit, if you're teaching, if they can't see their life inside of your teaching, you're going to lose them. So in this learning and understanding their community, you understand where they come from. You basically look for opportunities for learning, because you could just look around, because great teachers could see things that other people cannot see. So as we start to think about this, I want us to understand that you're looking for things that you can use as cultural connections, that you can use once you start seeing your teaching and how you're going to develop it before they even get to the room. Okay? All right. You with me? All right. Okay. All right. Best practice number 3. Building key connections. Okay? So in every community, every school, and the neighborhood around it has some key people that you need to meet. But I'm going to give you some key characteristics of those people. They are the movers and shakers in that community, okay? And nothing goes on in that community without them knowing, okay? But the problem is they don't get many invitations to come to the school by teachers to help facilitate some instructional techniques and provide opportunities for students. So basically what I'm saying is, in your learning and knowing about that community, these are people that you want to bring in to enhance the instruction of what you're trying to do, okay? So if you're talking about careers, okay, if you talk about careers in the abstract, it means nothing. If you talk about careers and then you show tangible examples, and then you bring in people who look like the students that you are teaching, because people relate to the visual. So if I could not only see, learn, and talk to, I then have something unique that I can connect with, okay? So why do many urban students want to be athletes? Because that's what they see. So in order to promote the academics, we have to do the same thing. We have to let them see somebody who's come from their community that are doing things that we portray to them that they should be doing. But it only comes with the invitation, okay? Here's one thing that I wrote and one thing I've helped the school implement. I want you to think about this. In with our community connections, parents, caregivers, guardians, one of the things I found is teachers want parents involved, right? Yes. But when we say involvement, we basically are saying two things. We either want the cupcake mom or the person or the family that will drag the kid out when they're acting bad. That's basically what we're saying we want. But what we can do, and give you a little key to raise the GPA of your class, if you facilitate 8 structured experiences throughout the school year for parents, community members to be involved in your classroom, so when they come to the classroom, you have a role for them to do in that, the GPA of that particular class goes up by 1 full point. 8 structured experiences over the course of the school year, okay? So as we start to think about this, when we say parent or guardian involvement, we have to plan for that just like anything else, okay? So it's something that I want us to consider, okay? The next thing, the vision for your students, okay? So when we look at best practice 4, as a teacher in an urban setting, you have to envision where you want your students to be, okay? And you can't just envision them to graduation because that's what they're supposed to do, okay? You have to envision them far beyond that. So how does a Chance Lewis become a Chance Lewis in a school that everybody else in the city says nothing good comes from because of the people on the inside who said, this is where I see you. And this is how we're going to get you there. Okay, so you're going to have to constantly reiterate to your students where you see them later in life before we even get to the instruction. Okay, because what they have to understand and what you have to sell them on is that you truly believe in them. I'll become what I think you think I can, okay? So when we start to raise that particular level for them, we have to understand that you have to tell them the vision that you have for them, okay? So as we look at this, connection with your students, okay? This is going to be real important, okay? So do your students see you as relatable, okay? Are you somebody that they can talk to? So if you just look up connection, it will basically say to be joined or establish rapport, okay? So when we think about this, I want to give you a couple of important reasons why it's important to connect. One, when you connect with your students, they truly know that they can trust you, okay? Because you have to think about what's going on in many schools. Many of the students that come to you, trust has been broken by a lot of people. So you build the trust, but that only comes through connection and a sincere attitude of wanting to make a difference for them. And they have to feel that from you, okay? But also, they understand when you make a connection with them is more than academics. It's life, okay? I'm going to tell you how important this is. When you make the connection, I had a former student who wrote me a letter, said he was about to go in and rob a bank. And then he remembered something I told him, and then he turned around and left. Connection. So the words that you plant into these particular students are the things that they will remember. So it's more than academics, because we can get them to do academics, but they have to see the life connections as well. And the cool part is it doesn't matter what color you are. They just want to know that you care about them. Okay? They would not want to disappoint you. They will test you. They won't disappoint you, though. It's a difference. They can look at you as a role model, and this is the ingredient. If you want them to perform on those standardized tests, they will only perform because they have a connection to you and what you taught them. You can teach them and not have a connection, then they say, forget the test. But if they don't want to disappoint you, they'll do well on the test. Make sense? Okay? All right, and then as we look at this, I want to go to the next one. Proactive classroom management. I know this is a big key for a lot of people, right? Okay? I'm going to give you a little secret on this, right? Every kid has at least one person in their family that can handle what I call discipline from a distance. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Every kid has at least one person in their family that can handle discipline from a distance. Okay? So how many of you, this is by a show of hands, when you go to school, your principal tells you, make sure you call all the parents? Raise your hand. How many of you call all the parents? Okay? Like half of the people that raise their hand. Right? So where's the disconnect then? The principal says call, you don't call. Are we afraid of what happens when we call? When they pick up the phone and say, hello? Sorry, wrong number. Right? I understand that a couple of things happen. So what I did to help you out, to reinforce this particular point, is I wrote a phone script for you. Okay? So this is out of a little book that I wrote called An Educator's Guide to Working with African American Students. So I'm going to just read the phone script, because it can handle in 2 phone calls. Okay? So let me just read this for you. And I'm going to leave this with Dr. Glass so you can get this. But pages 52, 51 and 52. So here's the phone script, at the beginning of the year, okay? Because every kid has this person that handles discipline from a distance. So hello, may I speak to, name of the person that handles discipline from a distance. How are you today? I'm sorry to bother you at work or at home, but I wanted to introduce myself. My name is, state your name, okay? And I will be your child's teacher this school year. I just want to touch base with you, to take time to connect, to let you know how excited I am to have student's name in my classroom. He or she seems like a very bright student. I wanted to know if I could touch base with you periodically throughout the semester to let you know how student's name is doing in my classroom. I know we will not have any problems. I thank you for your time. Hang up the phone, okay? Second phone call, right? If something happens, hello, may I speak to, name of the person that handles discipline from a distance. I'm sorry to bother you. However, I want to see if I could get your assistance. If you recall, right, first phone call, okay? If you recall, we spoke at the beginning of the school year where the reason for my call is that I've been having problems with student's name, okay? And I have been unsuccessful in solving a classroom management issue with him or her. I was wondering if you would be willing to speak with student name on the phone. I'm going to ad-lib here, like right here, right now, okay? Okay? And then I have him or her right here in my classroom. I would like to have the issue solved as soon as possible so we can move and get refocused on the coursework. And I give him or her the phone so you could talk to him or her. Now, if you have the right person, what do you think they're going to say? Put them on the phone. Right? So what you do, you send a signal, right, to other students in the room that I will call, because if the goal is excellence, you will not let it happen in your room. Okay? And I know time is short, so I'm going to hurry up. Over the next 2 weeks, if you don't have this key element, I suggest you find it. You can find it at Walmart, whatever. A teacher look. Okay? Get your little mirror, practice it. Basically, a teacher look is when you can look at them and they know what you're saying without you saying anything. Okay? All right, so you got it? Okay, all right, good. All right, 7, curriculum standards understanding. Okay? So I'm going to make this real simple. Okay? For you as teachers throughout the institute, you're going to have to understand what the standards are even saying yourself before you can even teach them to somebody else. Because when I go in schools across the country, people see the Common Core standard, or whatever standard that they're dealing with, and they don't even understand what they are saying. So what you're going to have to do is do what I call standard translation. Okay? So basically, when you see the standard, I want you to just ask yourself this question. What are they even saying? And break it down to the basic level, because if you don't understand it, you can't relate it. And that's why you have to have your team in place, okay? This one real quick. How many of you have heard of this term before? Culturally relevant teaching. Okay? Can anybody tell me how to do it? That's my point. Okay? Let me give you this real simple. So I'm going to give you a little formula, because people like formulas, right? Okay? Academic standards that you can't compromise, i.e. Common Core, plus relevance to the students' lives will give you culturally relevant. Okay? Academic standards, relevance, culturally relevant. Okay? So as we look at this real quick, and I'm going to be done here pretty shortly, what you have to understand is how to translate the standard and make it relevant to them. So I would do an injustice if I did not show you how to do this. Okay, so what if the standard was real long, but basically what they're saying is, can the student multiply? They gave you like 2 paragraphs, right, to say that. Okay, so let me show you how we could break this down. So once you can teach it, I know a good colleague, Dr. Hancock, teaches at elementary settings. You have many ways you could teach multiplication, right? How many of you learned the drill and kill approach, right? You write them 1,000 times, you should get it. You use manipulatives, you should get it, okay? But you have to make it relatable. So I'm going to show you what I mean by this. So in the last minute or so, I'm going to show you something here, and I want you to write this down so you can get this, is when you make it relatable. So I'm going to teach you something here in the next 30 seconds, right, that you'll remember for the rest of your life, okay? So how many, even though we're just meeting each other today, all of us have eaten at this famous restaurant. What's the name of it? See, how did I know that you knew that? Now, I know some of you are at the upper end of the pay scale now. You don't do McDonald's anymore. That's fine. You're the parfait kind of person now. Okay, all that's fine. Okay, all right. So in preparing for this, I said, okay, let me do a little homework. So how many of you know a day that McDonald's is closed? Is it safe to assume they're open 7 days a week? Okay, all right. And so I asked the manager of a local McDonald's here in the uptown area, I won't tell you which one. I said, how many value meals do you sell in a day? And they asked me a question, with a game in town or without a game in town? I say without. Easily 2,000 value meals after 10:30. I say, wow, that's a lot of value meals, okay? All right, so let's look at this. I'm gonna break this down because, see, the standard was, can they multiply, okay? I'm on the relevant side now, okay? So let's look at this. He told me the average price is about $5, you know, premium around $7, not as premium as he called it, around $3, $4, sake of simple math, $5, okay? So if the average price is $5, okay, and they sell 2,000 of them a day, right? What's the gross income that they make on value meals at this one McDonald's? $10,000, right? Can you write that number down? Okay. Okay. $10,000. And you said that they're open 7 days a week, right? Okay. So if they make $10,000 gross income per day and they open 7 days a week, how much do they make per week at this one McDonald's? Okay, $70,000. Right? All right. Assuming a 4-week month. Assuming a 4-week month. How much would they make at this McDonald's? $280,000. Okay. That's 12 months in a year, right? And if they make $280,000 a month times 12, I know you have smartphones, but this sake of time, I'm gonna give you the answer because I did my homework. You know, that's a little teacher trick. You got to do your homework. Okay. All right. But it's $3,360,000 at this one McDonald's. $3,360,000 at this one McDonald's. Okay. Now let's just say your student is working there, so because you haven't got it yet. I know it's still kind of sinking in what I'm showing you. Okay. But what if your student is working there? You have to contextualize it and say, okay, if you're working there at this point in your life, okay, that's fine. But my vision for you is that you're doing some bigger and better things later, right? So let's just say they make $8 an hour. They don't even pay them minimum wage because they heard about you and, you know, they raised the level, right? So they make $8 an hour, but they only can work 20 hours a week. How much do they make per week? 160 before. Okay. All right. Assuming a 4-week month, how much would they make? 640. Okay. I'm waiting on your coffee and all that to kick in, right? Okay, 640, and it's 12 months in a year, right? So 640 times 12, I give you the answer. For the year, they would make $7,680. Okay? So, educators, what can we deduce from this culturally relevant lesson? They can work the entire year and not make what this McDonald's made in one day off of just the value. So next time you go out to eat and you walk up to the counter and they say, may I help you please? Even though you will not give me credit, I know you will remember this. Because this is not even supersized. This is not even a cookie, ice cream. But this goes to show you the power when you make something relevant to them, because the academic standard was, can they multiply? And once you taught them how to do that, how you make it relevant is up to you. This is why you have to see examples around them, okay? But what are some other things that they could have learned that I did not have to say in this lesson? You need to buy a McDonald's. Did I have to say that? What else could they have learned? Okay? Maybe I don't need to work here long. I should get paid more. Okay? But all of these are questions that emerge that I don't have to say because I make it relevant. Okay? So I want to understand, I want you to take this and chew on that, because given that I did not have to say these things, that goes to show you the power of teaching. Okay? But somebody may say, well, that's easy to do in math. What about a area like English? Right? So just check this one out, then we're going to be done. You can ask the students, bring in the top 5 CDs in a musical genre that they like. Uh-oh. What can we do with that? They could play the PG version of the song. Okay? Dr. Lewis said the PG version of the song. Okay? But then from the PG version of the song, what we can do is introduce where they have to write down all the words of the selected song. Okay? Then we could use this to introduce poetry. Okay? And you know how on the test they want them to write? Okay? These students have to reformulate the lyrics in the complete sentence using proper subject-verb agreement without losing the meaning of the song. Yeah, that's free. Right? Okay? That's free. Okay? Okay? This is for my friend Dr. Glass. Okay? So as we look at this, what I want you to understand is you take what they like and you take what you like and bring the worlds together. So when they get to the test and it's time for them to write, they already know how to do it because they were taught how to do it. So whatever prompt it is, what you prepared them with will kick in. That's what we have to think about. Okay, so as we close, number 9 is you're going to have to expose your students. You get to choose what you expose them to. Even though I went to the school that I told you I went to, we had a teacher who exposed us to opportunities. Like, I'm going to bring you to a 5-star restaurant because this is where I expect you to be eating later. And I'm going to show you how to eat at this place. So you're going to have to expose them to opportunities that are beyond the curriculum, that you see inside the curriculum that they may not have access to. Okay? So this is where you bring learning beyond the 4 walls of your building. Okay? Because you have students that live right here in Charlotte that have not been to Imaginon. That's right outside this door. And have not explored many areas of this city. We're not even talking about other cities. But that's what you can do when you have that vision for them of what you want them to be. Okay? And then finally, you have to prepare them for the real world. Okay? Because in our world right now, Common Core is big. That's our world. It's not their world. But how do we take something like that and use it as something transformative to then catapult them into the real world? So I close with this. As a result of your students having you in this moment in time, how should their lives be different because they have you? I'm not talking about the person next to you. How should their lives be different because they have you? And as you go through this particular institute, that is the foundation of what I want you to consider. Because when they come to you, the cool part about teaching in urban settings is that many of the students who come, they're more than capable to do it. They just want to see, are you capable enough to teach them? And they're going to test you, and test your love, just to make sure as a quality control that you're with them. And once they find out that you're with them, they will go with you as far as you want to take them. So the biggest thing that we have to think about as educators is how far do we want them to go based on best practice number one, our mindset that we bring to the table for them. So I thank you for letting me hang out with you for a few minutes. I wish you the best.